Now let's talk about computer mediated communication and time management. This is also known as chronemics, which refers to like chronological ordering. And time management is important for multiple reasons, but like I kind of mentioned earlier, you can spend a lot of time on your emails and not do what you need to do for your organization. Specific to time management and CMC, we need to consider asynchronous versus synchronous communication. And if you've had a comm class before, you've probably heard this multiple times, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But if you haven't, asynchronous communication refers to communication that is not in real time, meaning that I'm communicating to you via Zoom, and then you're going to watch it later. You're not on the other side of Zoom. Therefore, it is asynchronous that you're not listening to me at the time that I am communicating with you. Synchronous communication would be if there were other people on the other end of the screen listening to what I'm saying in the moment during the same time, in live time. So recordings make asynchronous communication really easy. Synchronous communication, however, is beneficial in other ways, such as feedback. If there was somebody else on the other side of the screen, for example, I would be able to gauge what content I need to stick to a little bit more, or if it's engaging content, or if it's content that you're maybe a little confused about. So synchronous communication gives us a chance to have that feedback, and asynchronous communication does not. However, asynchronous communication, specifically for this course, allows you to do this course on your own time when it benefits you the most. Um, if we also think about the word unplugged, right? If we unplug from our email, if I don't look at my email during the hours outside of 9 to 5, that would mean that I unplug from the hours of 5 to 9 the next morning, right? However, I don't. I would deeply like to, but I don't. But this is in lieu of this chronic accessibility and information overload. Your book talks about information overload, and chronic accessibility, it doesn't really go into that too much, but chronic accessibility is like where we have our emails tied to our phones many times. I totally admire and respect those who don't, to set a boundary between work and life balance. But a lot of the time, we are attached to every platform of communication, mediated communication, which is just using that communication technology to communicate with others. This leads to information overload, where we're just bogged down with so much information. We're constantly getting hit with information from our bosses, from our teachers, from our students, from our colleagues, from our family, from our friends. We're constantly being fed information from all of these different sources, and it's no different. I shouldn't say that. It creates a very fuzzy or blurry line between work and life outside of work. Some tips to organize your work-life balance is to maybe set boundaries on your phone, for example, like notifications. Only receive notifications from this app, this platform during these times. And technology is providing us more and more opportunities to set those boundaries for ourselves. So that's a good thing. But also with your emails, maybe consider creating folders or labels or categories to put your emails in. And I'm not the best at this. And if you are, I was like, let's talk about it. I do the pinning option a lot. Like if you pin an email and it sits at the top of your inbox until you address it, that's what I do a lot of the time. But if you can stay organized in your email, it will be wondrous for you in saving time elsewhere. So another thing you can do is to block time, like I was talking about, but also it can be helpful to take action immediately. If you get an email and it sits in your pinned list at the top of your email for a long time, then it's daunting and it gets very stressful and it's always weighing on you. So, depending on the type of person you are, the type of organization style you work with, do what feels best for you. And also, those pesky emails that we hate seeing come up in our inbox, we can unsubscribe to those. And that's a really, like, I think it's a power move to unsubscribe. So they just bog you down, or they do me anyway. Another organization tip for like your folders, especially since you're students, is to create folders for each class and then create folders within folders for like your assignments or your exams or your whatever it is, and then clearly label them. So if you have an assignment folder for your 303 class, instead of having assignment 4 just in your like Mod Podge of folders, or just one large document folder, you have a lot of assignment 4s for many other classes. So when it comes to submitting your assignment 4 for this class, you can just go straight to the folder of business and communication, or excuse me, business and professionalism, and go to your assignments box, and then it's assignment 4, label whatever, and it's easier that way. So that's something that took me a long time to learn, but it's really, really helpful to create different folders and different categories for not just email, but for your files as well. If you use Dropbox, then you are already in the know on that. But organization saves you time in the long run. Let's talk briefly about email security. So email forwards can create or can contain viruses that we're unaware of. So whenever you get an email forward, especially if it's not from like a colleague, a close colleague with information pertaining to your position, be skeptical of those. And then we have spam, which is a little bit different. This is kind of that junk email. It goes to your junk folder usually, hopefully. Again, technology kind of helps us out as we progress in the tech landscape. But they get your email address. These spam accounts get your email address from apps that you sign up for. Like if you're on LinkedIn, it's quite possible that you get recruitment letters from spammers consistently. If you sign up for other apps or notifications, your information is sold constantly. And if you would like to know more about that, like I don't love talking about that. I love talking about it. I don't love that it happens, but there's this whole business model that social media sites have like completely worked around any sort of accountability, where they sell your information to third party companies, and then those companies distribute your information wider, and that's how you get spam emails. Phishing refers to authentic looking emails, but they're not. So they might look like they actually come from a person. A good way to spot a phishing email is if it uses a sense of immediacy and urgency, like if you don't do this right now, then this bad thing will happen. Sign up quick to get your blah, 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 blah. So just, they look authentic, but they're not. Examples of this include journals who want, like if you're doing academic research, a phishing scam happens often when you'll get an email from a quote journal, academic journal, and they ask you to contribute and publish your research on whatever it is, but you have to pay for it. And that's not how academia works. But in a non-academic way, it could look like tax fraud, right? Like you could have an email that says, oh, the IRS is da 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 da. If you don't reply right now or click on this link right now, you're like going to go to jail or something like that. So just examples there. I'm going to give us a little break and we'll resume.